The spaceship hovered above the city, its silver surface reflecting the golden rays of the setting sun. Below, the bustling streets of New Eden City were alive with energy. Cars zipped along magnetic highways, people hurried from one building to another, and drones floated overhead carrying packages to waiting homes. But no one on the ground noticed the ship silently landing at the central spaceport. Inside, a group of young alien girls stood in a line, their wide, curious eyes taking in their new world. Each girl was different in subtle ways. Some had soft, silvery hair that shimmered like morning dew. Others had delicate, translucent wings folded neatly behind their backs. Their skin had unusual colors and patterns, but they were all beautiful in their own way. The uniforms they wore marked them as new arrivals, and their expressions were a mix of fear, excitement, and wonder. Leora, the tallest of the group, stepped forward first. Her large green eyes reflected the lights of the spaceport, and her small hands trembled slightly. "This is Earth?" she asked softly, her voice musical and slightly different from the human tongue. She had learned basic human language during their long journey, but hearing it spoken all around her made it feel strange. "Yes," said the human official who met them. He was tall and wore a dark suit with a silver badge on his chest. "You are now on Earth in New Eden City. Your work assignments will begin tomorrow. Please follow our rules. You are here to assist and serve as part of the agreement between our worlds." The girls nodded, though the word serve made them exchange quiet glances. None of them fully understood what it meant yet. On their home planet, helping others was part of life, but being called a servant felt different. They were guided through the spaceport into a waiting transport. The vehicle hummed softly as it moved, and the city lights blurred past the windows. Leora watched the streets below, noticing the strange shapes of buildings, the bright advertisements floating in the air, and humans moving quickly like tiny ants. She felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. "Look at them," whispered another girl, small and timid, her voice almost a breath. "They are so busy." "Yes," Leora replied quietly. "And yet something feels different. I think they do not notice us as people yet." The transport stopped at a tall building in the heart of the city. Inside, the girls were led to a room that would serve as their temporary quarters. It was small, clean, and filled with soft light. Each girl had a simple bed, a small desk, and a closet. The walls were white, and a large window overlooked the city. Leora sat on her bed and ran her fingers over the smooth sheets. "We have to learn fast," she said to herself. "We cannot just wait to be taught. We must understand their ways." The others nodded, silently agreeing. They had been trained in their homeworld for many years, not just in science and technology, but in observation and adaptation. Earth was different from anything they had ever imagined, and they knew that survival here depended on learning quickly. The next morning, they were introduced to their first assignments. Some girls were placed in research laboratories, assisting scientists with experiments and data analysis. Others were assigned to domestic work in the homes of humans who had volunteered to host them. Leora's group was divided, but she was placed in a community center where she would help children with learning and creativity programs. At first, humans treated them cautiously. Many spoke in clipped tones, giving instructions without much warmth. The girls tried their best to follow every rule, perform each task perfectly, and remain invisible when asked. But it was not easy. Human habits, speech, and emotions were more complicated than the training simulations had prepared them for. One day, while helping a group of children build a model of the solar system, Leora noticed a boy struggling to place a tiny planet in its orbit. His hands shook and he looked frustrated. She stepped forward, carefully taking the small piece in her hands. "Here, try it this way," she said gently. Her voice carried a soft musical tone that seemed to calm the boy instantly. She demonstrated how to attach the planet, aligning it perfectly with the others. The boy's eyes lit up and he smiled broadly. "Wow, thank you," he said. Leora smiled too, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. It was not just pride or satisfaction. There was something deeper, something human. She realized that helping others did not have to mean obeying rules blindly. It could mean connecting, understanding, and caring. Over the next few weeks, the girls began to explore Earth quietly, learning its ways while performing their tasks. They studied human behavior, emotions, and technology. They were fascinated by the simplicity and complexity of human lives at the same time. Humans could be cruel, yes, but they could also be kind, clever, and courageous. The girls' hearts began to question the roles they had been assigned. One evening, Leora and a few of the girls were sitting on a rooftop, watching the sunset over the city. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, and the city lights twinkled like stars. "Do you ever wonder why we are called servants?" asked one girl, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. Leora thought carefully before answering. "I think it is because humans do not yet understand us. They see what we can do, but not who we are. They focus on work, on tasks, on results. They forget to see hearts." The other girls nodded slowly. They had noticed it too, the way humans sometimes looked at them as tools rather than beings. But they had also seen moments of kindness, of friendship, and even love, and that gave them hope. "Maybe we are here to teach them as much as they are here to teach us," Leora said softly. "Maybe our hearts will find a different path than what they expected." That night, Leora stayed awake long after the others had fallen asleep. She gazed out of the window, watching the city that never seemed to rest. She thought about the human children she had helped, the scientists who had smiled at her, and the quiet moments of wonder she had shared with the girls. For the first time, she felt a strong desire, not just to obey, not just to learn, but to shape her own destiny. She did not yet know how, but she knew one thing clearly. Their hearts would not remain in the chains of servitude. There was a bigger world to explore and perhaps a way to change it. The days continued, each one bringing new lessons, small challenges, and moments of discovery. The girls learned how to cook human food, how to navigate the crowded streets, and how to read human emotions more accurately. They laughed with the children, shared quiet conversations with kind adults, and even helped a few humans understand alien technology in ways that were safe and helpful. Slowly, the humans around them began to notice something unusual. The girls were not just obedient. They were thoughtful, clever, and caring. Children gravitated toward them. Scientists asked for their insights, and neighbors looked at them with curiosity rather than fear. It was as if their presence quietly changed the people they touched. One afternoon, while Leora was helping an elderly woman organize a library, she asked, "Why do you help us so kindly?" "We are only assigned to assist you." The woman smiled, her eyes gentle. "Because helping is not about rules. It is about seeing the person in front of you. Even if you are new, even if you are different, you are still alive, and alive beings deserve care." Leora's heart swelled. That was exactly what she had felt when she helped the boy with the planet. Maybe this was the beginning of the path they were meant to find. A path not defined by duties, but by hearts connecting across worlds. As the sun set again over New Eden City, Leora stood on the rooftop with the other girls. She looked at the horizon and whispered almost to herself, "We have arrived on Earth as servants, but our hearts will find another way." The wind carried her words across the city, and though no one could hear them, she felt them resonate with something deeper inside. It was hope, courage, and a quiet promise of change. The journey had only begun, but already, she sensed that Earth was not just a place to work, it was a place to grow, to teach, and to love in ways no one had expected. And for the first time, Leora felt that she was exactly where she needed to be. The city of New Eden hummed with activity, but for Leora and her companions, a new kind of excitement had begun. Their first weeks on Earth had been filled with observation, learning, and careful adaptation. But now a deeper connection was forming, not with technology or tasks, but with the humans themselves. Leora walked along the wide streets with her friend Miri, a smaller girl with silver hair that shimmered in the sunlight. They were on their way to the community center, carrying supplies for the day's activities. Children were waiting eagerly, their laughter echoing through the building even before the girls arrived. "Do you think they see us as equals yet?" Miri asked nervously. Leora shook her head. "Not all of them. Some still think we are just helpers. But that does not matter. What matters is what we do, not what they think." As they entered the center, the children ran toward them, shouting greetings. Leora knelt down to help a boy untangle a pile of colored strings. The boy's small hands were clumsy, but his eyes sparkled with excitement. "Thank you, Leora," he said. She smiled. "You can do it yourself, but I will guide you." It was moments like these that made her feel alive. The girls were beginning to understand the subtle power of kindness and patience. Unlike strict orders or tasks, human hearts responded to care and attention. Even the shyest child would open up when they felt safe. Later that morning, The girls were introduced to a group of young scientists working on a community robotics project. The humans were hesitant at first, unsure how much to share with alien assistants. But when Leora and the others demonstrated their quick learning and careful attention, the scientists' doubts faded. "You have a natural understanding of mechanics," one of the human engineers said, adjusting his glasses. "I have never seen anyone grasp the system so quickly." Leora blushed slightly, unused to receiving praise. "We only wish to help," she said softly. The other girls were also forming bonds. Miri had begun working with an elderly librarian, cataloging books and teaching humans about alien storytelling methods. Another girl, Ceylin, was teaching children simple games from their home planet, which combined logic and fun in ways humans had never experienced. Slowly, the girls were no longer invisible assistants, they were becoming part of the community, but not everyone welcomed them warmly. A few humans treated the girls with suspicion, whispering about alien tricks and questioning whether they were meant to interfere with human lives. Leora noticed this, but she did not let it shake her confidence. Instead, she focused on those willing to listen, knowing that small acts of kindness could slowly change hearts. One afternoon, while helping a human child named Tom repair a small drone, Leora noticed his frustration. The propeller would not attach correctly, and his brow furrowed with concentration. "Here, let me show you a different way," Leora said. With gentle hands, she demonstrated a technique that made the part fit perfectly. The drone buzzed to life, hovering steadily above them. Tom's eyes widened. "Wow, how did you do that?" "I just looked carefully," Leora replied. "Sometimes it helps to see the problem in a new way." The boy grinned, and in that moment Leora realized something important. It was not just about completing a task, it was about showing humans that there were other ways to think, other ways to solve problems, and other ways to connect. As the weeks passed, the girls' presence began to change the atmosphere in the community center. Children were more curious, asking questions about alien culture and technology. Humans became more open to new ideas, realizing that collaboration brought greater results than strict authority. Even some of the skeptical adults began to smile when the girls succeeded where humans had struggled. One evening, after a long day of teaching and helping, Leora sat with her friends on the rooftop of the center. The city lights shimmered below and the stars began to appear in the sky. "Miri, do you ever feel like we are changing them?" Leora asked. Miri nodded slowly. "Yes, and I think they are changing us too. I never knew humans could be so kind, so clever, so full of surprises." Leora smiled. "I think we are learning more than we were sent to teach. Maybe this is why we are here. Not just to serve, but to connect, to inspire, to find a path that belongs to us too." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden noise below. A small group of children had gathered near the street, pointing at a tiny cat stuck on a tree. Its frightened mews echoed through the alley. Without hesitation, Leora and Miri ran down to help. Using a combination of alien agility and careful movements, they reached the cat and brought it safely to the ground. The children cheered, hugging the girls tightly. Even passers-by paused to watch, impressed by their quick thinking and gentle care. "This is what I mean," Leora said later as they walked back to the center. "We are more than what they expect. We can do things that make a difference, even if it is small." Miri smiled, understanding her friend's words. The girls had begun to see that their power was not in obedience but in compassion, creativity, and courage. A few days later, a human scientist named Dr. Hayden invited Leora to his laboratory. He had heard about her success with the children and wanted to show her a new project, a device that could help people communicate faster across long distances. "It is complicated," Dr. Hayden said, "but I think you can understand it." Leora studied the device carefully. Its circuits and panels looked different from anything she had seen before, but she quickly grasped the logic behind it. Within hours, she suggested a few improvements that made the device work more efficiently. Dr. Hayden looked amazed. "You've not only understood it, you've improved it." "How did you do that?" Leora smiled softly. "I just looked at it from a different perspective. Sometimes a new view shows what is hidden." Word of the girls' abilities began to spread throughout the community. Humans started seeking them out for advice, guidance, and collaboration. Slowly, the girls were no longer seen merely as alien servants. They were mentors, friends, and partners. Yet, even with their growing influence, Leora reminded the group to remain humble. "We must not try to force humans to think like us," she said one evening. "We can guide, inspire, and help, but we must respect their choices. Our strength is in cooperation, not control." As the girls continued to work and learn, they also discovered the joys of simple life on Earth. They explored parks, watched sunsets, tasted human food, and laughed with children over games and stories. Every moment was a lesson, not just in culture, but in emotion, empathy, and connection. One quiet night, Leora reflected on how far they had come. She remembered their arrival, the fear and uncertainty, the first days of strict rules and careful observation. Now they were part of something bigger. They were not just surviving, they were thriving. And in the hearts of the girls, a new understanding began to take root. They had arrived as helpers assigned to serve, but their hearts were teaching them a different lesson, that the greatest power lay not in obedience, but in love, friendship, and the courage to be more than anyone expected. Leora looked at her friends as they sat together, sharing stories and dreams under the stars. She felt a deep sense of purpose. "We are here to help," she whispered to herself. "But we are also here to grow, to teach, and to discover a path that belongs to our hearts." And as the city slept beneath them, the girls dreamed of a future filled with possibilities, one where humans and aliens could walk side by side, learning, laughing, and building a world together. For the first time, Leora understood that the bonds they were forming were not just temporary friendships. They were the foundation of a future that no one had yet imagined. And that thought gave her hope, courage, and a quiet excitement for the days to come. The city of New Eden had grown familiar to Leora and her friends. The streets, the parks, the sounds of human life, they no longer felt strange. But one morning, as the sun glinted off the glass towers, a shadow passed over the girls' excitement, hinting that not all humans welcomed cooperation or understanding. It began with a simple observation. Leora had been helping a group of children experiment with a small energy generator, a project meant to teach them about sustainable power. She noticed a man in a dark suit watching them from a distance. His eyes were sharp, his expression tense. Something about the way he moved suggested he was not here to observe the children's learning. "Do you see him?" Leora asked Miri quietly, nodding toward the figure. Miri's eyes followed hers. "Yes, he doesn't look friendly." Leora's instincts, honed by years of careful observation, told her to investigate, but discreetly. They could not reveal themselves unnecessarily. Their presence as aliens was still sensitive, and any misstep could cause panic or worse. That night, under the cover of darkness, Leora and a few of the other girls moved silently through the city streets, following the man at a safe distance. He entered a tall building, one that was usually closed after hours. From a hidden vantage point, the girls watched as he met with a group of humans, scientists, businessmen, and engineers. The conversation was low, but the girls could understand enough from gestures, expressions, and the occasional whispered word. They planned to take alien technology and use it for power over others, Leora whispered. "What? Why?" asked Celine, her voice trembling. "Isn't that dangerous?" "Yes," Leora said firmly, "and it is why we must act. If they succeed, it could hurt both humans and aliens. We cannot let fear or rules stop us from doing what is right." The girls spent the next few days gathering information carefully. They observed schedules, noted security patterns, and quietly recorded conversations. They discovered that the group intended to use alien technology to create advanced weapons and surveillance systems. Humans who opposed them were being bribed or silenced. The danger was real, and it was close. Leora gathered the girls in a hidden room at the community center. "We have two choices," she said, her green eyes shining with determination. "We can ignore this and continue with our tasks, or we can do what we know is right. I say we act. We cannot let others misuse what we have been entrusted with." The girls nodded, each one feeling a mixture of fear and resolve. They were young, and humans were powerful, but the aliens had abilities and intelligence humans could not match. They would need to be clever, careful, and united. Their first action was subtle. They began leaving anonymous warnings for humans who were in danger, using coded messages and discreet gestures. A scientist who had been pressured to join the conspirators suddenly found documents left on his desk detailing safe alternatives to the dangerous plans. A security guard found a message hinting at potential sabotage in a lab, allowing him to prevent an accident before it happened. Slowly, the girls realized that their presence was making a difference. Humans who might have been afraid to act alone now had hope, guidance, and quiet protection. And yet, the threat loomed larger than ever. One afternoon, Leora was working in the laboratory assisting Dr. Hayden with a communication device. She noticed subtle changes in his behavior. Hesitation, nervous glances, a sense that he was hiding something. Carefully, she approached him. "Dr. Hayden," she said softly, "is there something you are worried about?" The scientist hesitated, then sighed. "Yes. I've discovered that some people in the government and corporate sector are planning to use your technology for harm. I don't know who to trust, and I don't want to endanger you or your friends." Leora's heart pounded. "You can trust us. We want to help. Please tell us everything you know." Over the next hour, Dr. Hayden shared details of the hidden plan. The conspirators intended to create devices that could manipulate energy fields, giving them control over communications, transportation, and even security systems. If successful, they could dominate entire cities and governments. The consequences would be catastrophic, not only for humans but for all alien visitors as well. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on Leora and the girls. They had come to Earth to serve, to learn, and to connect, but now they faced a challenge that could decide the fate of both species. Fear threatened to paralyze them, but Leora's determination refused to waver. "We must act," she said, "but we cannot fight openly. Humans will panic if they see us using our full abilities. We must be clever. We must use their own weaknesses against them, and we must protect those who are innocent." The girls divided their tasks. Ceylin would monitor communication channels, ensuring no warning went unnoticed. Mary and 2 others would protect human allies and children, keeping them safe from any danger. Leora, with her analytical mind, would coordinate the plan, anticipating the conspirators' moves and finding ways to neutralize threats without direct confrontation. The days that followed were tense. The girls moved like shadows, carefully intercepting dangerous activities, redirecting resources, and quietly warning those at risk. At times, Leora felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her chest. They were young and humans were unpredictable, but every successful intervention reminded them of the importance of courage, cleverness, and heart. One night, as Leora observed the city from the rooftop, she felt a flicker of hope. Lights twinkled below, and distant laughter carried through the air. Even amidst danger, life went on. Humans were resilient, and the girls' efforts had begun to inspire small acts of bravery in those around them. "Leora," Mary said softly, appearing beside her. "Do you think we can really stop them?" Leora took a deep breath, looking at the sprawling city below. "I don't know yet, but I do know this. We have something they do not. We have each other and we have our hearts. That is stronger than fear, greed, or power. And if we act together, carefully and wisely, we can make a difference." The girls spent the next few days preparing for the final phase of their plan. They gathered information, coordinated human allies, and mapped out the areas of greatest risk. They used their alien intelligence to predict the conspirators' moves, leaving traps that would expose plans without causing harm. Every step was calculated, every action deliberate. Then came the night of the first confrontation. Leora and her friends observed as the conspirators attempted to activate a prototype device. Using carefully timed interventions, the girls disabled critical components, causing the machine to shut down safely. Humans nearby were saved from confusion and danger, and the conspirators were left baffled. "It worked," Ceylin whispered, her voice trembling with relief and excitement. "Yes," Leora said quietly, though her mind was already planning the next steps. "But this is only the beginning. They will try again, and we must be ready." Even in the midst of danger, the girls felt a strange joy. They were no longer passive assistants, they were protectors, problem solvers, and leaders. Humans were beginning to see them differently, not as servants but as partners who could think, feel, and act with courage. In the days that followed, the conspirators' plans were gradually exposed. Human authorities, guided by the subtle interventions of the girls, began investigating the group. Several conspirators were arrested, and the devices intended for harm were safely deactivated. The city remained safe and no humans were harmed. One evening, as the girls gathered on the rooftop to watch the sunset, Leora felt a sense of quiet triumph. "We did it," she said softly. "Not by force, but by using our minds, our hearts, and our courage. We have shown humans, and ourselves, that we can make a difference even when the odds are against us. Miri smiled, her silver hair glowing in the fading light. And we are only beginning. There is so much more we can do, so much more to teach and learn. Leora nodded, looking at the city that stretched endlessly before them. Yes, and we will. We came here as servants, but our hearts have found a different path. A path of courage, friendship, and hope. And together we will walk it. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Leora felt a renewed sense of purpose. Earth was no longer just a place to serve. It was a world to protect, a world to learn from, and a world where humans and aliens could grow together. The journey was far from over, but the first steps had been taken, and for the first time, Leora truly believed in the power of hearts united across worlds, and in that moment, with her friends by her side and the city alive beneath them, Leora knew that no challenge, no threat, and no darkness could stop them from shaping a future where kindness, courage, and understanding triumphed over fear. The city of New Eden was no longer the quiet backdrop it had once been for the alien girls. Their actions to prevent the misuse of technology had not gone unnoticed. Humans were beginning to recognize them not as servants but as allies, beings with intelligence, courage, and hearts capable of guiding and protecting. Yet the threat they faced had only grown stronger. Leora stood at the rooftop of the community center, overlooking the city as the sun dipped below the horizon. The wind carried the sounds of distant traffic, children's laughter, and the faint hum of energy devices. Everything seemed peaceful, yet she knew it was only an illusion. The conspirators are regrouping, Seelan said, her voice tense. She held a small device that monitored city energy grids. They're trying again. They've developed new prototypes, more advanced than before. Leora nodded. We expected that. That is why we cannot face them alone. We need humans who understand us, who trust us, and who are willing to fight for what is right. That evening, Leora and her friends gathered a small team of humans, scientists, teachers, engineers, and even a few brave city officials. They explained the situation carefully, showing evidence of the conspirators' plans and the potential danger. At first, some humans hesitated, afraid of alien involvement, but Leora spoke with calm conviction. We are not here to control or replace you, she said. We are here to help protect, guide, and solve problems together. If we work as one, we can stop the threat without anyone being harmed. Slowly, the humans nodded, trust beginning to grow. The first step was preparation. Together, they mapped the city's vulnerable areas, identified possible targets, and set up safe zones. Alien intelligence combined with human experience made the plan stronger than anything the conspirators could anticipate. Over the next few days, the city became a hive of quiet activity. Leora coordinated the girls, assigning tasks based on their abilities. Seelan monitored communications, Miri ensured children and civilians were safe, and Leora herself analyzed patterns to predict the conspirators' next move. One night, while walking through the streets with a small human team, Leora noticed something troubling. A group of men was attempting to access a restricted laboratory. Using quick thinking, she guided the humans through a side route and used subtle alien abilities to lock the entrance temporarily. The men were confused, and the authorities arrived just in time to prevent any intrusion. This is working, Dr. Hayden said, relief in his eyes. Your planning is incredible. I never imagined we could act so efficiently. Leora smiled faintly. It's not just us. It's the humans, too. Cooperation is stronger than any individual power. As the days passed, Leora and the girls continued to act as both protectors and teachers. They guided humans in handling alien technology safely, showing them how to use it responsibly for energy, communication, and health. Small successes spread hope across the city. Citizens who had once feared aliens began to see them as friends and partners. But the conspirators were not idle. They escalated their plans, attempting to deploy devices that could manipulate the city's energy grid. The stakes were higher than ever. Failure could lead to blackouts, accidents, and chaos. Leora gathered her team in the early hours of the morning, their faces pale but determined. This is the moment we've been preparing for, Leora said, her voice steady. We will stop them, but we must act together. No fear, no hesitation. And remember, we protect, not harm. Our strength is in our hearts as much as our minds. The group moved through the city with precision. Leora guided them using hidden passages, rooftops, and secret tunnels she had discovered during her observations. Humans and aliens worked side by side, their trust in each other growing with every step. They reached the first target, a laboratory where a new device was being prepared. The conspirators were inside, confident and unaware of the approaching team. Leora signaled silently to her friends. Using a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology, they disabled the device without anyone noticing. The conspirators were baffled, their plans delayed. "Good," Leora whispered. "Now the main facility." The main facility was a towering building in the center of the city, guarded heavily. Leora studied the structure carefully, noting cameras, sensors, and human guards. Using holographic projections and quiet communication, the girls guided the human team through alternate routes, bypassing most of the security measures. Inside, the conspirators were preparing their most dangerous device yet. Energy surged in waves across the room, glowing ominously in the dim light. Leora's heart raced, but she stayed focused. She signaled Seelan, who quietly disrupted the energy flow, causing a temporary shutdown. The conspirators panicked, unsure of what had happened. At the same time, Miri and two other girls ensured that human colleagues were safe, leading them to secure areas. Leora moved toward the device, analyzing its structure and calculating the safest way to neutralize it completely. Her hands moved swiftly, carefully disconnecting the main components while monitoring the energy levels. Finally, the device powered down completely, its glow fading into harmless sparks. The conspirators were stunned, realizing that their plan had failed. Human authorities, guided by the team's intelligence, arrived moments later to apprehend them. No one was harmed and the city remained safe. The team emerged from the building into the early morning light. Leora looked around at the humans and girls standing together, exhausted but triumphant. There was a sense of unity in the air, a feeling that they had accomplished something far greater than the sum of their efforts. "You did it," Dr. Hayden said, shaking Leora's hand. "We could not have succeeded without you and your friends. You have saved the city." Leora shook her head gently. "We did it together. Humans and aliens side by side. That is what matters." In the days that followed, the city slowly returned to normal. Humans who had once been skeptical began to speak openly about the bravery, intelligence, and kindness of the alien girls. Children shared stories of games, lessons, and help they had received. Adults expressed gratitude, and even some former skeptics admitted they had been wrong to doubt the girls' abilities. The girls, however, did not rest. They continued to teach, help, and guide humans, focusing on collaboration and understanding, rather than servitude. Their hearts had found a different path, one of trust, courage, and mutual respect. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, Leora and her friends gathered on the rooftop of the community center. The city below shimmered like a sea of stars, alive with energy and life. "We have done something important," Leora said softly, "not just stopping the threat, but showing humans and ourselves that we can work together, that we can protect, inspire, and grow." Miri nodded, her silver hair catching the last rays of the sun, "And this is only the beginning." "There is so much more we can do," Seelan smiled. "Humans are learning, and so are we. We are not just helpers anymore. We are partners, friends, and guides. That is our strength." Leora looked at her friends, feeling a deep sense of pride. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear. Yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. Their hearts, once bound by servitude, had found a path filled with courage, kindness, and hope. As night fell over New Eden, the girls felt a quiet peace. The city was safe, the humans trusted them, and the bonds they had formed were stronger than ever. They knew challenges would come again, but they also knew they were ready. Together, they could face anything. Leora took a deep breath, looking at the stars above. "We came here to serve," she whispered. "But our hearts have found a new path, and this path is one of hope, friendship, and a future where humans and aliens walk together." The girls smiled at each other, their hearts united by trust and courage. And as the city slept beneath them, they knew that no darkness could extinguish the light they had brought, not just to New Eden, but to themselves and to the humans they had come to cherish. The journey was far from over, but Leora felt certain of one thing: together, humans and aliens could rise above fear, greed, and misunderstanding. Together, they could build a world where cooperation, courage, and kindness always triumphed. And that belief, simple yet powerful, would guide them through the challenges yet to come. The morning sun rose over New Eden City, casting golden light across the streets and rooftops. For the first time in weeks, the city felt calm. The conspirators had been caught, their dangerous plans neutralized, and life was beginning to return to a peaceful rhythm. Yet for Leora and her friends, this calm was not a pause, it was a beginning. The alien girls had changed too. They were no longer simply assistants or servants. They were teachers, guides, and friends. Humans had begun to see them as equals, capable of thought, care, and courage. Every small act, the rescue of a child, the fixing of a device, the quiet guidance, had built trust. And that trust was now forming a foundation for something larger. Leora stood on the rooftop of the community center, watching the city awaken. Children ran along the streets laughing, while adults moved through their routines with a sense of ease. The girls had even been invited to join community meetings, offering input on projects and initiatives. Earth was no longer just a place to serve, it was a world to shape together. "Miri," Leora said, turning to her friend, "do you ever think about how far we've come?" Miri's silver hair caught the morning light as she smiled. "Yes, I remember when we first arrived, scared and unsure. Now we belong, not as servants but as friends, as partners." Seelan, sitting beside them, nodded. "And the humans are learning too. They are starting to see that we are not tools but beings with hearts and minds. That is the greatest change of all." Their reflections were interrupted by Dr. Hayden, who approached with a gentle smile. "Leora, there's something I'd like you to see," he said. He led the girls to a large hall where humans and aliens were gathered together. It was a meeting organized by the city council, meant to discuss the future of cooperation between species. The hall buzzed with conversation, but there was also a sense of respect and hope. Humans and aliens shared ideas, asked questions, and worked together on plans for education, energy, and culture. The girls saw children learning both human and alien methods, scientists collaborating with the girls to improve technology safely, and community leaders listening intently to every voice. Leora felt a warmth in her heart. This was more than safety or trust, it was understanding. Humans and aliens could learn from each other, teach each other, and grow together. This was the path she had hoped to find, a path not defined by servitude, but by cooperation, respect, and shared purpose. The meeting began, and Leora and the girls were invited to speak. Leora stepped forward, her green eyes scanning the crowd. She felt a mixture of nervousness and determination, but she spoke with calm confidence. "We arrived on Earth to serve," she said softly, yet firmly. "But we have learned something important. True strength does not come from orders or obedience. It comes from hearts that care, minds that think, and hands that work together. Humans and aliens are different, yes, but together we can build something greater than either of us could alone." The room was silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Then slowly applause began. Humans and aliens alike stood, some smiling, some wiping tears, all inspired by the courage and wisdom of the girls who had once been seen as mere helpers. A human official stepped forward and spoke. "We have seen what these girls can do, not just in preventing danger, but in teaching us, guiding us, and showing us how to work together. From this day forward, we will establish a council of humans and aliens where decisions are made together and every voice is respected. We are proud to have you as partners, not servants." Leora's heart swelled. This was more than recognition, it was a promise. A promise that Earth could be a world of equality, cooperation, and hope. In the weeks that followed, the girls helped establish educational programs, workshops, and cultural exchanges. Children from human and alien families learned together, sharing games, stories, and experiments. Scientists worked side by side, combining technology from both worlds to create energy solutions, healthcare devices, and sustainable tools. Communities grew closer, and a new spirit of collaboration began to spread beyond New Eden City. One afternoon, Leora walked through a park with Miri and Seelan. Children were playing, some human, some alien, laughing together in ways that made Leora's heart soar. She stopped near a small fountain and watched as a human boy helped a tiny alien girl climb onto a stone pedestal. "They are learning the same lessons we are," Seelan said softly. "Friendship, trust, care, and courage." "Yes," Leora replied, "and they will carry these lessons forward. Earth will not forget this. Humans and aliens can rise above fear and misunderstanding. They can build a world where differences are celebrated, not feared. The girls continued their work, visiting schools, community centers, and even government offices. Each interaction was a chance to teach, to guide, and to inspire, and with every success they felt their hearts growing lighter, freer, and more joyful. The path they had found was not always easy, but it was theirs, and it was beautiful. One evening, as the city lights twinkled beneath them, Leora gathered her friends on the rooftop once more. "We came here as servants," she said, her voice calm and full of warmth. "But our hearts have found a different path, a path where we are equals, where we teach and learn, where humans and aliens walk side by side." Mary smiled, reaching out to hold Leora's hand. "It is a path worth walking, and we will continue no matter what comes next." Celan nodded, looking at the horizon. "And Earth is ready for us. We have helped, guided, and inspired. Now we can grow together with humans, building a future that is brighter than we ever imagined." As night fell, the girls watched the stars above, feeling a deep sense of peace. The city was safe, humans trusted them, and the bonds they had formed were unbreakable. They had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, but through courage, wisdom, and compassion, they had created a world where kindness and understanding prevailed. In the quiet of the night, Leora thought back to the day they had first arrived on Earth. She remembered the fear, the uncertainty, and the weight of servitude. Now everything had changed. They were no longer servants, they were friends, partners, and leaders. Their hearts had discovered a path far greater than any rules or assignments could dictate. And as the first light of dawn began to paint the sky, Leora felt a quiet promise within her heart. They would continue to teach, protect, and inspire. They would continue to show that courage, compassion, and understanding could overcome fear and greed. And most importantly, they would continue to walk this path together, with humans, with each other, and with hearts that had found their true home. The future was bright, full of possibilities, and alive with hope. Leora and her friends had arrived as servants, but they had become so much more. They had become a symbol of what could happen when hearts worked together across worlds. When courage met kindness and when understanding replaced fear. And in the heart of New Eden City, as humans and aliens laughed, learned, and lived together, it was clear that a new era had begun, a path of unity, growth, and the triumph of hearts that dared to dream beyond the chains of expectation. Leora smiled, feeling the soft wind on her face. The journey had been long and challenging, but it was worth every step. Together they had found a new way, a way of hope, friendship, and endless possibilities. And as the city awoke to another day, full of life and promise, Leora whispered softly to herself, "We came to serve, but our hearts found a different path, a path that will shine forever." The girls stood together, side by side, looking out over the city they had helped protect and transform. And for the first time, Earth truly felt like home, not a place of duty or rules, but a place of friendship, understanding, and hope for the future.